This week on the grill, we have some sweet tea marinated chicken thighs. It's gonna leave you wanting more. Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, I'm Nick from Hasty Bake, and today we're working on these sweet tea marinated chicken thighs. Super easy recipe. It's gonna be smoky, it's gonna have rendered fat, it's gonna have a sweetness to it that's absolutely out of this world. Let's get started. So right now we have some chicken thighs from our local grocer. You're gonna go ahead and get yourself a bowl or a pan or something that you can marinate in. We're gonna go ahead and dump these chicken thighs in that bowl. To start, all we have to do on this recipe is cover them up with sweet tea. Now, tea itself has a lot of acid that will break down this chicken really well. Want to cover them all up. Now, you can marinate this for up to about 3 hours. We're going to go about 45 minutes here. We're going to put them in the refrigerator. Once we pull them out, we'll pat them down, we'll season them up, and we'll get them on the grill. But right now, that's all you got to do to start. All right, these chicken thighs are out of the refrigerator now. They've been marinating for about 45 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and put them in a pan. I love to have the butter and the juice and everything that kind of gathers around these things in a pan. We're cooking them kind of competition style barbecue. We're not gonna scrape the skin or do anything crazy with them, but we are gonna go ahead and put them in a pan so they can capture all that flavor. Now what I like to do is we're gonna use some Butcher Honey Rub. Butcher Barbecue is a wonderful barbecue seasoning made right here in Oklahoma. It's a competition winning barbecue rubs. They're all over the country. They're actually all over the world. Really good stuff. And the reason I like their honey rub is it's also got some herbs and spices in it as opposed to just sweet. So it adds a nice little pop of flavor to that chicken. So we're gonna hit this chicken that's already been marinating in the tea with a bunch of this Butcher Honey Rub. Now if you want, depending on how tedious or how much time you got, you can come up and lift up underneath the skin. If you're not going to eat the skin, you can take the skin off at this point too. We like the skin, so we're going to go ahead and leave it on. All right, now the one important piece to using chicken thighs in a pan that you got to remember is you got to have that skin side up. And the reason being is if there's moisture that's going to gather in the bottom of the pan, it's going to make that chicken skin really rubbery. We don't want that chicken skin rubbery at all. So we want all of it facing up where the heat is going to gather. Hit that skin one more time with that honey rub. We're cooking today at 325 on the Hastings behind me. That high temp heat is going to make all the fat underneath the chicken skin render. It'll leave you with a crunchier skin that just gives you a wonderful amount of flavor, a wonderful amount of pop. I'm going to take a little bit of the sweet tea that these things marinated in and just put a little bit in the bottom. Not too much, probably half a cup total. Disperse it throughout. Gives a nice little kind of a braising liquid. And then we're just going to take butter. Now this is unsalted butter that we've just cubed up. And I'm just going to disperse this throughout in the pan as well. That way you want that butter mixing with that tea. That tea is going to eventually evaporate and you're going to leave all that kind of concentrated goodness flavor behind it. The butter adds a lot of fat, a lot of moisture. So I use 1 stick of unsalted butter. You don't need the extra salt. There's plenty of salt in your rub. We got some wood thrown on our Hastings back here, so we're cooking over pecan wood. Like I said, 325 is the goal we're shooting for on our grill. But these things are ready. That was a really easy prep work. Gonna get them on the grill and see how they turn out. Something we're gonna do with that chicken's in the Hastings cooking over here is we're gonna go ahead and work on the glaze. So once these things are baked inside that pan, they got all that butter, they got all that sweet tea goodness, we're gonna go ahead and prepare a glaze that we're gonna warm up in the grill so we can kind of finish them off and add a nice little pop of color and flavor on the top. So what I've done is I've melted 1 entire stick of unsalted butter. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of blue agave sweetener in here to thicken that butter up. And then we're gonna come back with just a little bit more sweet tea to add some extra flavor. Gonna stir that up, get it nice and mixed up. The heat's gonna render it down into more of a glaze. Adjust your consistency as needed, so you may need to add a little bit more blue agave, or you can add some honey or something like that, but this will be a killer glaze. This is just gonna go over the top of that chicken. add and reinforce that extra sweet tea flavor, and add a little bit of stickiness to it that's going to keep that flavor around for as long as we want it to be. So we're going to put it back on the grill, let it get warm. As soon as that chicken's about ready, we'll stop about 5 degrees short and start glazing those chicken thighs. We'll show you in a minute. All right, we're back and we're getting close. These chicken thighs have been in there for about 45 minutes, maybe even coming up on an hour. We've temped them in there about 170 degrees. Now, chicken is done and safe at 165 degrees, but I like to take chicken on a bone, especially skin-in chicken, up a lot higher. So 175, even 180. There's a lot of fat in it, so it's not going to dry out. It'll stay nice and moist. It actually even has a further breaking point at 180 where it becomes even more tender and starts to fall apart. So I like taking it up that high, but we've pulled them a little early because we're going to go ahead and put them in a different pan on a rack with some glaze and let it sit to try to crisp up the last of that skin. Now, if you remember, we've got butter and we've got sweet tea in the bottom of this pan. And what that means is these chicken are sitting in liquid. Now, that's going to keep them really, really moist, but it's not going to set the skin. So I want to go ahead and handle that right now. So I'm going to take these thighs out of that butter mixture, and I'm putting them in a separate pan with a rack in the pan. Now, the rack is going to allow all the moisture to sit to the bottom and going to allow the chicken itself to kind of drip dry. So here's our chicken thighs in the pan on the rack. They're drip drying, which is wonderful. That's exactly what I want them to do. So now it's going to be really easy to go ahead and glaze over our chicken with. Now, you can do this one of a couple ways. You can come in here with a brush and dab it on. You could also just pour it directly over. I feel like you get a little bit better coverage with a brush because you can kind of fine tune where you put it. Now, because this has butter in it, that fat, it should brown up real easy when we put it back in the grill. But we do want to put it in the grill over a medium-high heat. Now, this chicken's almost finished, and that medium-high heat will take the chicken up over the edge where we want it, but it's also going to render that last little bit of fat and crisp up that chicken skin. We're going to come in one last time with a little bit more of that honey rub and just kind of finishing powder the top of this. That'll add one last little pop of flavor that's going to sit on the chicken real well, and when you take your first bite, you'll get all that flavor. Back on the grill for another few minutes. And here we are with these amazing sweet tea marinated chicken thighs. We've got them seared off on the grill. They hit 180 internal. You got a wonderful bark on the top. All that skin is nice and crispy. See if you can hear that. That's what we're shooting for. Wonderful color on the bottom and on the top. It's going to have that sweet tea and that honey all the way through it. I cannot wait to tear into one of these. Now I get to pick which one I want. Let's go with that. Move that out of the way. Find your bone. That right there is the money shot. A little bit of skin, a little bit of meat. Cannot beat that right there. They're moist. I mean, I could drip juice out of them. They're smoky. They're sweet. Got a little bit of that pop from the tea. These are out of sight. Super easy recipe, guys. Again, we'd love to do stuff that you can do at home real easily. Hope you enjoy making these. Please let us know how they turn out. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and all the other places at Hasty Baked Grills. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue to pump these things out. Have a great week.